Hi, this is Rich. My brother Dave and I renovate houses, and today we're going to show you how to grout tile. We've got a series of videos. We're doing a massive renovation in a lake house, and right now we're in the basement bathroom. And so we are completely overhauling this bathroom, and we've got other videos in this series where we'll show you how to basically take an old, outdated shower and go through all the steps so that you can get a beautiful new shower. In this series we'll show you how to install a shower valve, how to put a waterproof membrane on, and how to tile. And then at the stage we're at now is to grout. So over here I've already grouted this area, so you can see how that's got a nice finished look. And I'm about a third of the way done with grouting this bathroom, and on this side I haven't done anything yet. So basically the first step is, after we installed our tile, the material that you adheres the tile is thin set, and that can be in these little grooves here. Sometimes the thin set squeezes out and it can be in this gap, and so since we want to have uniform grout lines, we're just taking a nail and we're going along this space, and we're just clearing out all of the excess thin set. Next up, we have to mix up another batch of grout. Alright, that's how it looks right now after it's been mixed, and now we're going to just let it set up for about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back, give it a couple more stirs to mix it up, just for about 30 seconds, and then we'll be ready to grout. I just went ahead and I mixed this again after waiting 5 minutes, and the grout's looking like that, and it's all ready. I'm going to be applying it with this device. It's called a foam float, and I also just cleaned that off because it was all caked with old grout, and so each time when you start with a new batch you want to have a nice clean float. Alright, to apply the grout, we're just putting it basically at the very end of the float, just a little on the end like that, and then what we're trying to do is jam it down in the gap between the tile, and we're going to be on a 45-degree angle and just kind of pressing it, because we don't want it just to get on the very surface of this grout line. We want it to go all the way to the back of the tile, all the way to the back, as far as it'll go. Like I was saying before, this is going to set up in 25 minutes, so you don't want to go crazy and try to knock the whole job out on one shot. You just maybe do a wall, and then after that's done, you're going to want to go with your sponge and get all this glaze and excess grout off of here. Okay, so the corners are a little bit of a different situation because, well, you've got these two walls butting up to each other, and there's not a lot of room to work. So just get your grout at the end of this float, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to be pressing to try to, because these two walls are here, it's hard, it's just hard to work in that area. So just by pressing against it, it's going to force the grout up into that gap. And that's going to create a lot of mess, so just go ahead and wipe it off. And we'll come back with the sponge in a couple of minutes, and we'll get that all cleaned up. The other part, like in this shower, we've got this line. We call it an accent line. Some people call it a flare line. And so with that, you can see how fine these lines are. So we're having to, jam, really press, and get the grout in every single one of those little lines. And this is going to look real hazy, and especially on this flare line, we're going to have to go over it many times with the sponge to get that cleaned off. Okay, as you're applying the grout, you want to basically have the float in one hand and then a big sponge like this that's wet, clean, wet, you know, you got to keep cleaning this thing off, rinsing it in your faucet over and over until it's nice and clean. And then, so there I've applied the grout, but you can see you can't get all of it off. So you just go back over it with the sponge, and at this point all we're really trying to do is just get off all the excess grout, because it's going to be a nightmare to try to do it later if you let it all set up. But like you can see this flare line, this was the area that had all these crazy little fine lines to fill. So we got to try to clean that off. Now, with this whole idea of cleaning the grout lines, there's a little bit of finesse to this, because if you just go in there and use your full strength, you're going to pull out all the grout that you just applied. So it's just basically over time you'll get the feel of it, to not press too hard or too soft, but just the right amount. Because what I'm trying to do here is wipe the glaze off of this tile, but I don't want to take all of the grout out of this line. So it's just kind of like light. It's just a light touch until it looks good. And it's not the end of the world if you get grout on your tiles, because it's not going to set up in like 2 minutes or anything like that. So all you got to do is just apply some pressure. Like if I had a big glob of grout right there, I would just apply pressure with the sponge and it'll eventually come clean. And then same thing with this area up here. Even though there's a lot of these little gaps even though these little tiles are so small, basically what I'm going to have to do is just go over this many times with light pressure until I can uncover the tiles but leave the grout. And so then I have to go clean the sponge off again and come back with a wet, clean sponge. Alright, now what we're doing is we're taking the sponge and we're going to go over everything that we've done, every single tile, every single line, and we're going to do that 2 or 3 times. We're trying to get off any kind of haze that's on these tiles, and that also gives us an opportunity to see, it's possible that the grout shifts around. So as I'm going back to wipe these tiles down for a second and third time, if I see any imperfections, then I can go back and just throw some more grout in there. Alright, so the last step in the grouting process is the easiest. Basically, you're going to let all of the grout sit at least a day so you can make sure it's completely dry. And then you're going to come back in. There might be even though you wiped it down a lot in the previous step, there's probably going to still be a little bit of haze left over. So all you got to do is get your wet sponge, clean wet sponge, and just wipe the walls down, and you'll see if there's a little bit of residue that's coming off. And you'll do that on all of your tile, and then you're finished with grouting. So I hope this video helped with your grouting project. If you got anything out of it, please hit the like button. And also, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please subscribe, because we have many home improvement videos coming out soon. So thanks much for viewing, and happy grouting!